Draft. I will be hosting you this evening as we go through this journey of the live draft process through the first 3 rounds. I'm your host, Sonny Weaver. Alongside me today is Commissioner Lip Ripper, the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as Bomber, the namesake of our league, and he is the owner of the Detroit Lions. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Doing great.
I'm excited for tonight. It's our first MBL live event. We're here to go through the draft with you guys, give live commentary on each pick. So we're going to go ahead and get started with a little pregame information here, and then we're going to roll into the first draft. So looking around the league as we were getting prepared for the draft, there were a couple interesting things that stood out to me. The first one being the age of the quarterback classes. Last season in MBL Season 12, 9 of 32 starting quarterbacks were over the age of 30. Now, this has got to be concerning for a lot of the teams. Will we see a large group tonight, Lip, that thinks that they're going to have to draft quarterbacks? 9 of 32, that's a lot of teams. Will we see a run on quarterbacks at some point this evening?
I think at some point you're going to have some teams go after some younger guys and really start to look to the future, because some of those older quarterbacks aren't the top and elite. Some of them are just older quarterbacks, and at some point they're going to look for somebody to turn to, and this could be the night that they take them.
Yeah, so we'll get into this in a little bit, but look to the Saints with the very first pick. The 0-16 Saints had a rough year. Drew Brees, 45% completion percentage, only 1,500 yards, 5 TDs to 18 interceptions. Not sure what's going to happen there in New Orleans, but I think one thing we can agree on is a lot of things with that Saints pick are up in the air still. Turning to Bomber, one thing that I found interesting as started doing a little review on the draft before we got here tonight was 22 of 32 teams that I reviewed for the draft, they have an O-line need in the top 2. Now, obviously, free agency plays into that a little bit. In MBL, it's historically been a flashy early round picks, meaning a lot of skill positions in the first couple rounds. With all the needed O-line, do you think we're going to see a lot of O-linemen go in those first couple rounds, or do you think people are going to hold steady and go for the flashier players in the first couple rounds?
Okay, let's step back a bit. Let's look at the Saints. What happened last year? Brees stopped playing at week 10. They rested Brees. They thought maybe he'd retire, maybe he'd come back. If he comes back, the starting job is his, from what I've heard. They're going with the flashy Nick Gordon. They might need an O-line. They might need a defense. But I'll tell you what, they said he might be Megatron 2.0, Nick Gordon out of Nebraska. I definitely agree with that. Now, for the rest of the teams, you look at the Giants, you look at the Lions, you look at the Chiefs moving up. Will they go O-line or flash players? I'm going to say they go with more of the non-skill players to fit around. I mean, the Giants just picked up Hakeem Nicks in the the free agency. And the Lions picked up some great pieces in the free agency. I'm going to say they go with non-skill players. But as far as the Saints go, they have a lot of holes everywhere. But I'm saying they go with Nick Gordon because this is the Nick Gordon draft.
So you jump to the Saints there with a little bit and Nick Gordon. And so one of the things we noticed in reviewing that is that the Saints, they're really lacking talent across that linebacker core. I'm not sure what's out there in those early rounds. I know there's some good middle linebackers, some pretty good outside linebackers. I personally feel like the Saints would be crazy to take a wide receiver when they've got that many holes. 31st overall offense, 30th defense. A wide receiver is not going to fix those issues. I think they've got to find somebody, shore up the defense a little bit, maybe an outside rusher that can get to the quarterback, help out those cornerbacks a little bit. But I think wide receiver is kind of a crazy thought. And historically, Bomber, we know that you're a fan of going wide receiver early, but Lip, somebody that's maybe a little bit different opinion. What are your thoughts on the Saints?
Well, you got to wonder how Cooks and the other younger guys there feel, who may not have had a whole lot of time to really develop. And
great point.
If you've got some young guys there, taking another one with all those holes, you got to wonder what's going on, because there's a lot of different needs that will help the guys that you already have do a lot better. So looking at a wide receiver at number 1, whenever you could make some other moves to try to fill a bigger hole or even fill multiple holes, could really be beneficial to them.
Yeah, you're right, and that's a good point you bring up. They've got some good young talent at receiver. That's why I think, the number one overall pick, that is the showstopper. That's the stunner. That's the thing that's got to change your franchise around. I'm not sure the wide receivers where they need to be. I would consider a quarterback first. I'd consider a rush linebacker. I mean, there's a lot of options and a lot of places they can go. But I don't think wide receiver is the point. What we're going to do is we're going to find out about that. We're here just a couple seconds away from the start of MBL Season 13 draft. So, we're going to strap on our chin straps here and get ready for the fun to start. The Saints are now on the clock, I do believe. So let's look at the Saints a little bit. They were 0-16 last year. Obviously, fourth in division, 31st offense, 30th defense. They've got a lot of work to do. Drew Brees is getting older. Mark Ingram had a so-so year, only 522 yards on the ground, 6 TDs. Cooks, Colston, the tight end Orson Charles all had decent years. But then I flip over to that defensive side. Not a lot of playmakers on that defensive side. They got 5 sacks out of Stephon Anthony. Kenny Vaccaro looking good in the back end. They just don't have a ton of talent on this team, and that's why I really think right now. And Bomber, to your point about the wide receiver, I just think that's a very rough place to go.
Yeah, I can agree. I'm the first one to tell you they have holes everywhere. But when you have a guy that the organization has tweeted, he's the next Megatron 2.0. If they feel that heavily about this guy, how can you pass on him? That's what I want to know. How can you pass on a Calvin Johnson? You got to take the Calvin Johnson and fill in the rest around him.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but how did that work for the Lions? Calvin Johnson's been a great player, but what's that done for championships? I really got to think that Drew Brees, his age, he's showing it. He's not having the great year they need. I would feel much more comfortable to find a quarterback to build around, or like I said, maybe a rush linebacker to get to the quarterback. It does look like the pick is in. We're going to wait for them to announce that here. I'm not a fan of going wide receiver with this pick. I think it could be an issue. So it looks like Kansas City's currently on the clock, but we're going to wait to see here what happens with the Saints. Lip, why we wait? Kansas City is an interesting choice here. They've moved all the way up to number 2 with the trade with the Texans. What do you think Kansas City may be doing here to trade up for that?
There's some holes, but this team has a lot of good talent in a lot of places. They just traded for RG3 after Alex Smith wasn't working out, so you don't really know if a quarterback is worth taking at number 2 after trading up to number 2 whenever you just previously traded for a guy. I don't know if quarterback is where they're going to go, so there's definitely some other places that they could go, maybe offensive line or wide receiver, because there was some talks early in the season about a lot of drops within that wide receiver group, so maybe them taking a star wide receiver could help get that offense going even better than it was last year.
So speaking of star wide receiver, it does look like Bomber was right. The Saints do take wide receiver Nick Gordon out of Nebraska. Like I said, not a fan of that pick. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. That's one of those things that, oh boy, that could make or break that GM's career there. So on to Kansas City. They've got a little bit of time here left on the clock. They've solidified the line a little bit in free agency. Couple of different places they can go. I personally, I think middle linebacker Derek Johnson going. I'd love to see him take a middle linebacker here. I think with him leaving, that's going to be a big problem for him. But Lip, you'd mentioned a couple other positions for him, wide receiver being one of them. They got a lot of production out of their running back as a wide receiver last year. I'm not sure the wide receiver would be the best case for them right now. They seem to do okay last year with RG3. So we'll have to wait and see what the Kansas City Chiefs are going to do here. It does look like the pick is in, and we'll wait for that to get announced. The Detroit Lions are on the clock right now. So, Lip, kind of rounding out this thought with Kansas City. It looks like they did take the middle linebacker Wade. I think he's a real talented kid that can do a lot in that 3-4 defense. What are your thoughts on the Lions here? They traded up as well for this number 3 overall pick.
Well, they made some moves on defense, and they brought in Eric Weddle, so that back end is got a big playmaker now. But we all saw that they had released Stephen Tulloch, so there's a hole that they could potentially be looking to fill, because you release a guy, you move up to number 3. That's definitely somewhere that they could go, but also they could look to corner to try to make this defense even better than it was last year, and it was a really good defense.
Yeah, I agree with you all the way. I know the Lions had interest in Wade before he just went there to Kansas City, so I'm not sure what's going on in Detroit right now. There may be a little bit of scrambling here. I agree with you. Rasheed Mathis leaves. He was one of their top playmakers with 9 interceptions last year, so I expect to see cornerback go right here. And that'll set the Lions up with somebody to put opposite Darius Slay on the other side. Lions had the number 1 overall defense last year, first-ranked passing defense. If they want to keep that up, they're going to have to go cornerback here. And so that picks in. So as we wait for them to announce that, let's look to the San Diego Chargers here. The Chargers are an interesting team to me in a lot of tough games this year. You know, they had the 10th overall defense, 24th ranked offense. You know, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. A lot of close games. I personally, they're kind of an enigma to me. I'm not sure which way they will go. Their owner's kind of silent, never know what's going on. Personally, I'd like to see them go center. It's a little early for center, but I would like to see them go center here. And before we get into that, it does look like the Lions did go with cornerback Barber. I like that pick for the Lions. Lip, what is your take on the Chargers?
Well, I mean, like you said, they were in a lot of close games. There was many games where they didn't lose by much, and that's a really good team. Just in all those games that you lose by a couple points, you could easily just have won by a couple points. You know, one score puts you at a completely different record, and that tells me that this team's dangerous. They have a lot of pieces there, and with the 4th pick in the draft, this could really set them up in a division that they could take, no problem.
Yeah, it's a division that was definitely lacking last year. It took them quite a few games to get a winning record within the division. I'm not sure they ever even broke that 500 mark outside of the division. I think the Chargers need to just kind of build some pieces. You know, I could see something in the defense. I could see an offensive weapon as well. They've got some guys that are decent playmakers. Keenan Allen for one, Melvin Gordon. But I think they need to solidify that line a little bit more first. You know, like you said, the outlook. A lot of tough games that can win that division. But, you know, that's something we'll have to kind of wait and see how it goes. Let's start jumping ahead here to the New York Giants. Bomber, number 5 team here. Eli Manning retires. Do they go quarterback here?
I wouldn't. This quarterback class isn't as deep as most people would like, and definitely is not something that the Giants would like. I'm going to say they go middle linebacker defense. I've heard that from my sources. I've heard that they're looking D-line, middle linebacker, and if I couldn't see them straying away from that, to be honest.
Well, speaking of defensive line, it does look like the Chargers did take the left end Curse. I like that pick. Build in the trenches, that's going to be good for them. To your point about New York, I agree the Giants have a hole at middle linebacker that does need to be filled. I think, honestly, any of their linebacking core would be a great fit. They did some work in free agency. They signed Chris Myers to help them out. They brought in a weapon, Hakeem Nicks. I'm not sure what the plan is at quarterback. They traded for Brock Osweiler last year. That's an interesting position to be in. They got a couple other quarterbacks on the roster. That may be something they address later in the draft. I agree with you. Defense is going to be big for them. You know, they had the 11th rated defense last year. They lost some pieces to it. You know, what they approach and how they approach going about keeping that defense will be interesting. But like I said, that cloud hanging over them is not having Eli Manning. What do they do there? and so we'll find that out here in a little bit when that pick does come in. So the Miami Dolphins, the owner Tout said earlier in the day that he was looking forward to bringing the Dolphins back to glory. What do the Dolphins have to do here, Lip, to come back to glory? Who's the pick?
I'll tell you what, the Dolphins the Dolphins could go a lot of places, but in the past we've seen this ownership kind of go towards the flashy, exciting player. So you could look at a number of different positions, but I'm not really sure that they're going to go inside anywhere.
Yeah, so New York goes with the defensive tackle Kilgore, going back to Bomber's point, solidifying the middle of that defense. It wasn't linebacker like we may have thought, but I think Kilgore is going to help them out, keep that run defense stout. As for the Dolphins, 27th ranked defense last year, 21st ranked offense. Not much of a playoff contender. I think, there's questions if Tannehill is going to be the guy there. I think they need to solidify some things, could use some help at cornerback. I know they picked up a couple depth guys in free agency, but that's something that I think we'll see play out maybe a little bit later in the draft. I think Lamar Miller needs to get more involved. 847 yards last year, only 3 touchdowns. That could lend itself to going with somebody like a lineman. But looking forward to the draft and to the Dolphins in general, if they want to be successful, they got to get the ball moving down the field on offense. 26 in passing offense is not going to win you many games in this league. It looks like the pick for the Dolphins and it was the left tackle Crosby. That should help solidify that line, help the Dolphins out, hopefully get that running and passing game going. Bomber, we got the St. Louis Rams up on the clock right now. The Rams, they could go a lot of different directions. One thing I've got to say is this is one of the teams that I think quarterbacks is a must. Nick Foles is not the answer in St. Louis. What are your thoughts?
Actually, this is one of the owners, Draco, one of my favorite owners in the league. He had a lot of tough games last year, but I'm going to go in a different direction. You're going quarterback Nick Foles. I'm not giving up on him just yet. I'm saying Brett Scruggs from Penn State is the guy. He's 6'2", 221. He had a great combine, and if they don't go there, I wouldn't be surprised if they take the guy from LSU, a premium talent, Lecarius Hull, 6'4", big 236, a baby Calvin in his stature. Probably not as dominant on the field, but definitely has high ceiling of potential.
So what you're saying is you're leaning more towards weapons for Foles, not giving up on Foles, but just trying to equip him with a little bit more around him talent-wise.
Exactly. I think Foles was a product of the weapons around him, and if you just build the weapons around him and solidify him with that premium defense that they have in St. Louis, watch out. Watch out. I'm telling you, Atlanta needs to watch out. They were the kings of the NFC, but I'll tell you, Rams are a team that could definitely put some defense on a high-octane offense like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that offense, it can't get much worse than it was last year. 26 in the league. The defense was pretty good at 14th, so I think you've got a lot of things going on there. What I would be surprised to see is something just out of the blue, and so it looks like the pick is in and they go cornerback, and that to me is confusing. I think they were okay on the defensive side of the ball. I really thought they were either going to replace Foles or give him something to do. So we'll have to see how that one works out. The Green Bay Packers, not a lot of holes here. 18th on offense, 15th on defense. Aaron Rodgers had a down year, 27 INTs. Lacey never really got going, only 754 yards on the ground. They lost Peppers, they re-signed Peppers. I really think that they need to start looking to the future there, finding a pass rusher that maybe is a little quicker on his feet, that can get downfield and get some sacks, take some pressure off the back end. Lip, what are your thoughts? Where are the Packers going?
I think that they need to look at the front on defense. They have some really good talent in the secondary, but if they could get some younger talent to develop up front on the defense, that could really help out the offense and get them some more wins this season coming up.
Yeah, I think you're right there. But I tell you, I think that defense, there's a little bit of aging going on there. There's some depth things they can do there. It looks like the pick's in. It's the tight end. Dickerson, Dickerson does give them some downfield targets there. You got Cobb, you got Nelson, now you've got Dickerson. Aaron Rodgers has no excuses. There should not be 27 INTs thrown next year. If there is, that's a coaching issue. That's a major issue. Bomber, Washington Redskins. Owner there, been kind of quiet, haven't heard a lot from him, didn't do a ton in free agency. What are the Redskins thinking right now?
Okay, J-Unit's really – they had a good defense last year. They were 7th in points. They only gave up 16.7, but their big issue was giving up on the rush. I'm going to say they go D-tackle, and I like DeMarcus Forrest from Oklahoma. He's an attacking 4-3. He will fit in perfect with that scheme. He had a great combine, and he might be what they need to stop the rush and go ahead and give this offense an opportunity, to play some field position rather than just having them pinned and behind throughout the entire game.
Yeah, I really – that was one where I thought – Kirk Cousins jumps out to me and says that is not an NFL quarterback. I'm not sure he's the issue, but I'm not sure he's the quarterback. Really I thought offense across the board was going to be the pick here. You can go Cousins, you can go wide receiver, add some weapons there. If you're not going to get rid of Cousins, it's kind of back to the Foles thought. If you're not going to get rid of Cousins, let's surround him with some weapons. Alfred Morris had a decent year. Jordan Reed, their tight end, was their leading wide receiver. That's a problem. When your leading pass catcher is a tight end, that's a problem. Deshaun Jackson, 621 yards. Then their third leading reception, Cameron Meredith, 14 receptions, 296 yards. Another surprise. We're seeing a little bit of a run on defense here. They go with cornerback Hurst. I really thought they would go maybe with something on the offense of the ball. Tennessee Titans, O-line here. Lip, tell me why they won't go O-line here.
They might not go O-line because they might want to get somebody on defense. They do have their quarterback, but they could do a lot of things. But I think they got their star on offense. They need a real star on defense.
Yeah, I think that O-line, Bishop Sankey wasn't the answer there. I think it was partially due to the O-line. They bring in Arian Foster. They bring in Matt Forte. They're going to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And there's the left guard Blaylock. Great pick there by the Titans. That's the first pick I think that really makes sense to what the team needs to be doing. We got the Bears up on the clock right now. The Bears are a dumpster fire. They need a lot. They need it everywhere. I'm not sure the Bears can really go wrong with anything they do at this point. They did bring Jared Odrick, the left end. I think that helps get some pass rush for them, which they definitely need. I would love to see them go offensive line here. Right tackle, center, Bomber, to me, they're in your division. Where do the Bears have to go here?
Okay. Where does Burrito Bob got to go? He needs to go Sean Gordon, right guard, Wisconsin. He's the best guard. He's probably one of the best linemen out there. He can fit. You can plug and play him wherever you like on the offensive line. He had a great combine. I know I keep saying that, but he really did. And this guy's the best old lineman out there. Let's get Jay Cutler some time. You don't have Forte anymore. You need all the protection all the time you can get.
I agree. Forte is gone. I could see a halfback coming in here. I know they're high on Langford, but anything to get something going on the offense. I love it when they build through the trenches. They've got a really good kind of building block there. So I think they need to just keep building that offensive line. I wouldn't put a new quarterback in there yet. Let Cutler take the hits. Build around that line and protect your quarterback. That is the name of the game. Protect your quarterback. Open up the holes for whoever you bring in at running back. Give them an opportunity to succeed. A bad O-line is the best way to kill a rookie quarterback, and there we go. We got the center, Mason. Great pick there. That solidifies that line a little bit more. I'd love to see him to go with the tackle later in the draft.
Great pick.
But you can't be upset about that. Great pick by the Bears. So our very own Lip Ripper, the Steelers are on the clock. They traded up to number 12. I'm interested to see what they do here. I'm kind of flying blind. I think cornerback is somewhere that the Steelers are definitely hurting. They had one of the worst defenses last year. 31st ranked defense, 31st ranked pass defense. Personally, Bomber, I think it's got to be cornerback here. What do you think?
I think you hit it on. I think you hit the nail on the head. Look, their linebacker core was young. They lost their safety. They lost a corner in William Gay. They struck out in the free agency at safety. Okay, They need to get secondary. It's cornerback or safety with me. And if I had to choose a cornerback right now for them, I'm going to say who fits the best with them. Nate Boykin from the University of Tennessee. This volunteer had, and I'm going to say it again, he had a great combine. This guy is a baller. He's a player. He's only 5'10", but you would swear he was 6'4", because he can shut down any professional NFL-ready wide receiver at any given time.
Yeah, I agree. I like him a lot. I think you're going to see a pass rusher later in the draft for him. You got Bud Dupree on one side. They're still searching for somebody to rush the passer on the other side, but I think cornerback's going to be the call here. There's still a couple great ones on the board, but the Steelers are going to have to shore up that pass defense. I know they wanted to do some stuff in free agency. I'm not sure that all worked out for them the way they thought it would. They targeted Jonathan Joseph. He ended up going somewhere else at this point. So cornerback here to go with the other young corners they got going on in Pittsburgh. That should help the defense out a little bit, and I think that's where they went. So it does look like they went with Sellers, not Boykin, as you pointed out, but Sellers, I still like this kid. I think
Sellers, quality cornerback.
Yeah, great pick there. That's a pick that I think will be interesting down the road. Minnesota Vikings, Adrian Peterson, Teddy Bridgewater. We all know the names in Minnesota. This is going to be a pick that I'm kind of flying blind on. I don't see a ton of holes on this Vikings team. But what would your take on this Vikings team be?
Okay.
Bomber?
Minnesota on paper, I don't see a hole either. I mean, they're good top to bottom. Why were they 7-9 last year? They could have easily been 10-6. They could have easily been 11-5. They should have at least been 8-8, but they weren't. What's the problem? I don't know. I think it's just getting the talent and getting the chemistry right. So what I'm going to say they do is go with best available player. And on my book right now, the best available player is the right guard, Sean Gordon, from University of Wisconsin, the Badger.
I talked to the owner APV earlier today. He told me not to tell anybody, but he was hinting at that they may do something crazy. They may go wide receiver. I think that's going to be the pick. As you said, best player available. I think the best player available does end up being a wide receiver. Giving Bridgewater a couple more weapons there. Kind of surprised that Stephon Diggs didn't get more involved in this offense throughout the year. But that's something that we're going to have to see what happens down the road. It does look like they went with the wide receiver, which puts the Dolphins on the clock. Lip, Dolphins. We saw them once. We see them again. Go. What are the Dolphins looking to do here? Or Bomber, what are the Dolphins looking to do here?
The Dolphins right now, you mean the Mexico Dolphins?
The Mexico Dolphins.
Okay.
And quarterback Ryan Tannehill.
Mexico Dolphins, what are they going to look to do in this draft? I don't know. They've kept it a secret, man. I would swear they were playing in North Korea. But we're going to go ahead and say that they probably need help on the defensive side of the ball. It looks like they had a good rushing attack last year. The passing attack was towards the bottom. But I would say, stopping the pass, I'd say they go with the cornerback. And I wouldn't be surprised if they went ahead and went with Boykin.
Your boy Boykin, you like him? I like him here as well.
I like him.
Like I said, free agency, they did some work. I think that they picked up some depth guys, but they didn't find a starter. They need a starter. They got the left tackle early on. They're going with a cornerback here, I believe. I agree with you. It's going to be Boykin. It's going to be very interesting. Can the Dolphins kind of reverse their fortunes and get back into the hunt? That's an interesting division. You got Bayou there, who made it to the Super Bowl. It looks like the pick is in. It was your boy Boykin. I like that pick. I think Tout's having a really good draft at this point. The Denver Broncos are on the clock. I'm looking at the Broncos. The Broncos are an interesting case for me. They were active in free agency, shoring up a line that was atrocious after the end of the season. I think that the Broncos here are going to look quarterback. I'm not sold that Mike Glennon's the guy there. At some point, these quarterbacks have to come off the board. I hope to see it here with Denver. Lip, do you think they go quarterback here?
I think that they would take a lot of heat for going quarterback. If they think that Mike Glennon did some good things at the end of the year, which I think I saw somewhere that they thought that he did some good things at the end of the year, but if they really want to give him a lot of help, then they could look at left guard or center to try to give Glennon another year after having some time to get used to the offense. this next year, if they got some more protection up front for him, he could really do some good things.
Yeah, Glennon's okay. Manning was horrible with the picks last year. Glennon came in, did a little bit better, but I really wanted to see something happen on that offensive side of the ball. They were 12th in offense last year, 7th passing, but it's a little misleading because I think they were behind in a lot of games and trying to pass their way out of it. The defense did struggle, but I think that's an issue with not getting pressure. I think that's a scheme change that can occur. Get more pressure, help your back end. If they were going to go cornerback, I wouldn't be upset with that pick, but I think that's a pick that they probably could push off a little bit and come back around to. And obviously, so I say that, and the Broncos always want to go out there and do crazy stuff and take a cornerback. So we'll find out. That's the owner Backley, and never know what's going to happen there. The New York Jets here are on the clock here. Offensive line all the way on this one, right, Bomber?
Oh yeah, definitely. I actually just got off the phone with him. Delvar said he's taking the center. Rivera, he's a big center. He's going to definitely be able to legitimize the offensive line and solidify the run game as well as protecting the passing game.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is no brainer here. It's going to be the center, Rivera, and then there's our boy right there. Baltimore Ravens. I got to feel wide receiver. Steve Smith retired. He was the driving force there. Justin Forsett cut. They got to find some offense here. Wide receiver, Lip, do you agree? Baltimore Ravens.
I think the wide receiver is a very big hole for that offense with Steve Smith going, but they also could use a running back. Like you said, running back leaving the team. They pick up Ray Rice in free agency. There's a lot of questions at running back, but they could also very easily go wide receiver and have a good player there.
I think they could go outside linebacker as well. They need the pass rush. Their defense was okay last year, 14th passing defense in the league, 25th rushing defense. So across the board on the linebackers would help. I agree. Halfbacks in need. Not sure how they feel about Lorenzo Talafiero there. I think they may have mixed signals within the building on him. I think wide receiver's got to be the pick. I think wide receiver is, the biggest need there. I think it may come down to who's better on their board. Do they like the halfback? Do they like the wide receiver? I like the wide receivers with where we're at right now. Halfback in the NFL is being devalued. I would think that's more of a second round kind of pick. But we can wait and see how that goes. Let's look at the Eagles. The Eagles are a very interesting, player here. Bomber, you're close with the Eagles owner. What are you hearing coming out of the Eagles?
Right now, it's been secondary. They actually wanted to move up. As you see, a lot of cornerbacks have been getting taken, and that was their concern. They were concerned that they wouldn't get an opportunity to pick one of the cornerbacks that they like, but I do feel that there's only one left on the board that I'd go with, and that's University of Wisconsin Badger Irvin Crosby. He had a great combine. I mean, the guy ran not as fast as they like, but his vertical jump was 40.5. He was first in cornerback on broad jump and vertical jump. He's definitely a pick they should go here if they want to go cornerback, but he's definitely not the best player available.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to a lot of times is the best player available. The Eagles are kind of an interesting enigma to me because they made some moves in free agency. They brought in Mike Williams, Bryce McCain, Shaquille Richardson, the two cornerbacks. I would be okay with the Eagles going a lot of different directions here. I keep harping on it. Quarterback, is Sam Bradford the guy there? DeMarco Murray had a great year, but the offense struggled in the passing game. A line help, offensive or defensive could be in order here. I could see a defensive tackle even, but the Eagles are going to be one of those teams that I think with just a couple pieces, they'll be in the hunt. They finished second in the division last year, game out at the end of the year. They just need one or two pieces to get them over the hump, to get them to the next level. And it sounds like they're going to get that piece in this round. So, Lip, we're going to roll over here to the Patriots. New England Patriots, they finished just outside the wild card this year. Tell me where they go. I personally, I think there's a huge hole at strong safety that has to be filled if they don't want to get exposed in that linebacking core. What are your thoughts?
Well, there was, I can tell you there were many talks between the Steelers and the Patriots about where they would go in the draft because they were both very interested in the cornerback position. Both of them picked right around the same time before the Pittsburgh trade to get up ahead of the Patriots to try to take that corner. But, they just signed Josh Robinson, so that need might have been filled. Still not sure, but there definitely is some questions back there on the other side of Devin McCourty who could fill that up and make that secondary really good.
Yeah, it looks like they go with the cornerback. Can't argue with that. They don't have any big names in the secondary, so that's something that I think, it's going to help. I think at some point they're going to have to find a strong safety, not a very strong or a class 4 strong safety. So it's something we'll have to wait and watch. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, interesting team here. Personally, I feel like the team's got some holes, but Jameis Winston had a pretty good year this year as a rookie. He's got to cut down the interceptions, 25 INTs. But there's something to be said for a rookie starting. Anytime you can get a rookie out there, get them throwing. Mike Evans, Vincent Jackson, good people to be throwing the ball to if you're a rookie. Personally, I'm thinking they got to get some help on the line. They picked up some guys in free agency, but I think they're just stopgaps. If they can get some help on the line, that'll help them out. Bomber, what are your thoughts for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Okay, Tampa Bay, they're solid on offense. I'm going to say they need to go defense, and I'm going to say D-line. I know they have a strong D-line, but I think there's a player out there that they definitely could benefit from having, and that's the guy from Oklahoma. He's a Sooner, DeMarcus Forrest. He's just a beast, and I think he'll be a great pro. He's going to need a little developing, but at this point in the draft, with the way Tampa's at, I think that would be a good pick for them. I think he could turn into a real solid player.
Yeah, they go strong safety, it looks like. I think that's a pick after I thought that was going to come from the New England Patriots. That's an interesting pick to me. I had that as kind of a later need for them, not something necessarily up front. They must have felt good about bringing in Selvey, the right end, and Amin Silla Tula, the left guard. They were active in free agency, so I think that's something that's going to help them out. But that strong safety is a good player. Not doubting it. Just thought they would wait a little bit on the strong safety. The Houston Texans, they traded back earlier in the draft. They accumulated more picks. The Texans got a lot of needs. Where do they go in the first round?
Well, I think that they have a huge hole up front at guard and center, so I think that this is a situation where they almost have to take a lineman to help get the ball going. They have some guys that can do some things on offense. Ryan Mallett might not be the guy, but he might be, depending on what they see. But to give him protection and to give them a running game, they're going to have to fill these holes up front.
And they got to replace Arian Foster, so I wouldn't even count out a halfback at this point, too, for Texans.
I'm going to go with Lip here. Can't get a halfback until you've got the line. Protect the quarterback, protect the halfback. Got to go line here. I'm okay with a couple different options here. I personally like right guard here, but it depends on who they have rated as the highest person on their board at this point. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see where the Texans go as the clock's running out here. I'm thinking here, and let's see if this comes up.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
That's interesting. They go in. I don't know that was the right call there. Maybe a little early on the end, but we'll have to wait and see. Seattle, Bomber, Seahawks in the playoffs, came up a little short this year. I think they need some weapons to get them over the hump. What are your thoughts?
I definitely agree. I don't know. I'm not completely sold on Jermaine Kearse or Doug Baldwin. Paul Richardson had a good year. So I'm thinking wide receiver, but at this point with the team that essentially has it all, top to bottom on paper, they're looking good. Do they go with Lecarius Hole from LSU, the wide receiver? Yeah, they could. Would it be drafting him a little early? Some might say so. If they don't go best available and they go for a skill position like wide receiver, they go Lecarius Hall from LSU. He is a big receiver and he is a huge target, and that'll just give another weapon for Russell Wilson in the passing attack to go along with Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, I could definitely see them doing that. I think weapons are at a premium there. Marshawn Lynch is getting a little older. I'm not sure how they feel about Thomas Rawls being the back of the future there. Could see a halfback as we get later in the first round. I also like a defensive tackle here possibly. That's somewhere where I think the defensive tackle could come in, help out right away, getting to the quarterback, and keeping guys off their linebacking core there. That's a very good linebacking core. It frees those guys up to make plays and do what they do there in the Legion of Boom. 5th ranked defense last year, 19th ranked offense. If I was a betting man, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say they go for a big wide receiver, somebody that can go up, get the jump balls, and really help Russell Wilson out.
And let's also mention that they have a pick. They have the 26th pick as well, so they moved up for this. So if they don't go wide receiver here, they might go in the 26th.
It looks like they go defensive tackle. I like that pick. Like I said, it'll keep the guys, it'll keep the offensive linemen off their linebackers, let the linebackers like Bobby Wagner make plays. I like that pick by Seattle. Jackie Moon broke his streak of the longest active streak of playoff drought in MBL this year. The Colts are here on the clock at 23. You got Andrew Luck here. You got T.Y. Hilton, and then you got a dearth of talent there. I think there's just a vacuum. There's nothing. I think they got to help out T.Y. Hilton there, get somebody else on the other side. I could see him going halfback. Josh Robbins isn't the guy there. Not great yards per carry. Frank Gore's gone. They're going offensive weapon here one way or the other. Lip, which way do you think they go?
Well, you basically said everything that is there. They don't really have a center up front, and the big question offensively is Josh Robinson the guy? I mean, he's the only halfback on the roster right now. Can he be the guy? I mean, I know Andrew Luck's a great quarterback, but are you going to give Josh Robinson the ball and expect a whole lot? Defensively, I mean, they have some areas they could improve on, but I think with a ownership that's got a great defensive mind, they could get by with some positions as they are. But on defense, the strong safety is something that they're going to have to look at if they want to keep the good defense up there.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I don't think Josh Robbins is the guy, and so to your point, I think they're going to have to do something there. What that is looks like it's halfback. Like we talked about, Robbins not going to be the guy there. Looks like Taylor will be the guy. I expect him to jump into the competition right off the back. We got Carolina going back-to-back here, 24-25. Very interesting team here. They came in, they competed with the Falcons down in the NFC South. Falcons going to win the Super Bowl. Carolina can challenge them there. They've got 3 of the next 4 picks, so this is going to be a big round for the Carolina Panthers. I think the Panthers need some work on the offensive line. Right tackle, I could see them going. They signed Taylor Mays. Taylor Mays isn't the answer at strong safety. They can go strong safety if there's one they like, and cornerback is never something that you want to pass on. So, Bomber, where do they go for the next 3 of 4 picks?
Okay, I want to say first off, they were 12-4 last year. They are a great team. I love the vision of what Wildcats is doing in Carolina. I love how Cam Newton played, but I'm going to go ahead and say that they're going to, with one of these picks, hopefully I'm not wrong on this, they go Lecarius Hole, and I keep saying Lecarius Hole, but I think they need one more wide receiver with Kelvin Benjamin, and I think a big target like the 6'4" product out of Louisiana State University is going to be one of these selections coming up, and I do think they will solidify with some O-line selections in 3 of their next 4, but I do expect a big skill player like Lecarius Hole to be one of their picks as well.
So they take the right tackle Mullins, which it was my number 1 need on the board for these guys. I think that was a great pick by the Panthers. What I would like to see them do here, I agree with you. I think they still need to solidify the line, but I could also see them going with a wide receiver. I'm not sure I'd go with your guy there. He's a little slower, big guy. They've got that in Funches. They've got that in Benjamin. I'd like to see a speedier guy probably. they go with left tackle. So they've solidified the line. They got the right tackle. They've got the left tackle of the future. Going forward, I want to see them go wide receiver. But we're back to the Seattle Seahawks now. Lip, they went defensive tackle before. Do they go wide receiver here?
I think the defensive tackle was a great pick, but I think that they're going to have to look at offensive line. They've got some guys there that you're not really sure if they can give you much protection, or a lot of blocking for Lynch. I think that since they went defensive tackle to help make that defense incredible, I think they need to go offensive line so that they can do what they want to do and run the ball and play defense.
Yeah, that's a really good defense. So that's the Legion of Boom. They're still the Legion of Boom. I would like to see that.
I'm saying Lecarius Hall again. He's got to go in this first round. I can't believe he's still there.
I'm with Bomber. He's the big kind of guy that the owner there in Seattle likes. I think
Justin
he gives
loves. Yes, exactly.
Big
exactly
target. Big target for them to go after.
Yep.
He can go get the jump balls that Russell Wilson can put up there. If they don't go wide receiver here, I would be very surprised. And so with just a short amount of time here left on the clock, we'll find out. We're going to be looping back into the Panthers again. Let's say Hall goes here, Bomber. There's the big wide receiver that you were pushing for the Panthers. So the wide receiver's off the board. Probably too early to take the next best. Where would the Panthers go with that next pick?
The Panthers, I've gotten them wrong so far. I still think they need. I mean, I would take a speedy wide receiver too. I mean, there's players out there. If you want to look at a fast wide receiver, a nice one, you got Michigan State's DeJuan Vincent. He's 5'11", 200 pounds. He's going to give them a nice mix to go with Kelvin Benjamin and the other big targets that they have with bunches. Do I see them going wide receiver? I've said it. Yes, I do. Will they take that one? I don't know. I don't know if that's best available player right now for them. But he could
Hall's
definitely
off
fit
the
and help
board,
them out.
so Seattle does
Hall's
take
gone.
Hall. You were right
Yeah.
there. Seattle gets the big wide receiver they need. So the Panthers, Hall's not an option anymore. Like you said, the speedier wide receiver, I could definitely see that there to pair with kind of the two towers. Almost what the Bears were doing there for a while. I'd like to see a smaller guy, like you said, somebody that's shiftier, somebody that can get out there and do some work for them.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
It looks like that's what they did there. I like that pick for the Panthers. They've got some weapons. Cam Newton's going to be a star down there in North Carolina. Interesting news here. I'm hearing from the Raiders front office. I got a mole in there. I think the run on cornerback was a little shocking for the Raiders. I don't think they expected that to be the case. I know they wanted to go cornerback. Look for the Raiders to go tight end. They got the quarterback, Derek Carr. They've got two good wide receivers in Michael Crabtree. They got, Amari Cooper, the young stud. Latavius Murray is doing good things down there. This Oakland Raiders team, they need a good tight end. I think there's still a couple good ones here in this draft that they could be difference makers. It could it really could help Derek Carr in his progression as a quarterback. Lip, tight end to the Raiders. Is that the last piece they need to really be a potent offense?
I think that if you give a young quarterback a good tight end, I think that can really help this offense explode. As long as the protection's good up front, I don't think they need to worry about rushing into a corner because they got a couple young guys that they could try to develop. I think they're good there. I think if they go tight end and they give somebody good up the middle, they could be a really good team.
Yeah, I agree. I think tight ends are part of the blocking game now. They're part of the receiving game now. I think it's a complete piece, and there it is. Great pick by the Raiders. I think that's going to help their offense. They do need to come back around, get younger in the secondary, but as far as that pick goes, supremely happy with that and for the Oakland Raiders and Project Fat. Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? With the big upset over the 16-0 Lions. Bomber, you had a first-hand look at these Cowboys. Not a lot of holes in there. The move of Lael Collins to right tackle to replace Doug Free solidifies that line. Where are the Cowboys going with this next pick?
I think we're understating not a lot of holes. Because there's a ton of holes for them when they're on offense. They can run. So I think the offensive line is solidified. I think the halfback, you can plug and play anybody there, and Michael's doing a hell of a job. On defense is where I'd say they go right now. They lost Brandon Carr. They released him. I wouldn't be surprised if they go secondary. I would say cornerback. I know this draft is not too deep on cornerbacks. There's not many left, but I would not be surprised if they possibly look to go cornerback safety with this pick.
Yeah, I agree. The back end could use some work. They cut Carr. I think if there was a cornerback there they liked, they would take him. I'm not sure there's a cornerback there at this point that they like. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the Cowboys do. Like you said, the holes that their running game get to run through, I think I could take the ball and run it for 10 yards on each play myself. But so I think solidifying the back end. Barry Church isn't getting any younger. They got a little bit of a hole strong safety. We could see another strong safety come off the board here. Cornerback, we're kind of teetering on that second round value, but we're almost into the second round. So we're not sure how this thing's going to go here. But cornerback here would be a good pick. Safety would be a good pick. Anything would be great here. So as the time clock counts down here, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you, Bomber. It looks like cornerback is the pick. So my Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock. Lip, you're the division opponent. Where should I be going? With my Bengals, where do I go?
Well, before this all started, everybody was expecting this pick to be a quarterback. But after a really good season from Andy Dalton, I don't think that we'll be seeing that anytime soon. But with the retirement of their left tackle, who was really good for Jeremy Hill to run behind, I think that
Whitworth
might be where they have to go.
That was a surprising retirement for Sonny, wouldn't you say, Lip? When Whitworth retired, I know the organization couldn't believe it that he was hanging it up. He was definitely a driving force of that offensive line, and he was helping Gio and Jeremy Hill.
Yeah, it was a very strange retirement because they had such a good season, and they did a lot better than most people thought they were going to do for some of the talent they had on their team. So with such a great season, wouldn't you think that you would be that close to a Super Bowl that you'd stick it out for another year to get some free agent help, some guys in the draft to really take you up to that next level and then retire? But that leaves a tremendously big hole for this offense because Jeremy Hill is such a big part of that. If they don't have the blocking up front, there could be some struggles there. But I think they're going to find.
The pick is in. Yeah. I definitely agree with everything that you stated. And they went with D tackle. They went with Pleasant, and hopefully his tenure in Cincinnati is pleasant for him, because they could use that help up in the front to beef up that already pretty dominant defensive line. Right now we got the Buffalo Bills on the clock with Bayou. Where do you see them going, Lip?
Well, there was some question at quarterback at the beginning of the season, but Tyrod Taylor really stepped up and played really well for them. A lot of people didn't really expect that, but he was a star for them, and he had a really good touchdown interception ratio. That filled a big need for them, what they thought they might have to replace. But they do have a hole up front that they could fill at left guard to help get LaShawn McCoy going and to give Tyrod Taylor more protection. And they made it to the Super Bowl. They fill the hole on the offense somewhere. They could probably take a Super Bowl next season.
Yeah, I agree. Their offensive line obviously lacked some dominance at times, and it cost them with holding penalties. We can remember penalties. I think they go lineman. I like the left tackle from Wisconsin. He's a power run guy, Michael Woodson. He's a solid offensive lineman, and if they need to move him to left guard, they need to play him at center. He's one of those guys you can plug and play as well, and I think he would fit perfectly into what Buffalo's trying to do. Remember, the offense is very quick. You got Tyrod Taylor. He's utilizing his quick reads. He's looking at tight end, halfback, wide receiver on quick routes, and it's really allowing the line to grow with the offense.
Absolutely, that could be a very dangerous team with them. Picking up some more offensive line help.
Looks like they go the opposite direction and they go defensive tackle Rodriguez. I get the pick. You got Kyle Williams. He's 33 years old. You got Marcel Darius getting a big contract. Not sure what's going to happen there. Solidify the defensive line. Get some pressure. That's a team that could not get pressure on the quarterback this year. Hopefully Rodriguez can rotate in there with a older, tired Kyle Williams to try to get some pressure on the quarterback there. Up next, we've got your Super Bowl champion, Atlanta Falcons, one and only. This is a team that I think's got a lot of talent on it. Julio Jones, Matt Ryan. Roddy White's a little older. Could we see a wide receiver go here to the Atlanta Falcons, Bomber?
Atlanta, the MBL Season 13 Super Bowl champions. They had a solid year. What do they need? I would say, yeah, replacing a wide receiver. But Leonard Hankerson, you got to understand, he played very well for the Falcons last year. But if they wanted to go wide receiver, which they might, I like Tercel Burns. He's got the speed. He's from Georgia. You know, they play that vertical offense. He really can get down the field. He's 5'11", yes, but he can really play offset in the slide, especially with Julio Jones on the same side as him, who's going to attract a lot of the safety attention. He can get over top, and that could be dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. I like your wide receiver picks. I think White's a little older. I think they're going to need a right guard. Tevin Coleman had a great year. I'd love to see him move right guard in there. They did sign Donald Penn. I don't know if that's to move some guys around on the line for him. But I would really like to see them take some sort of offensive lineman, offensive weapon for him here. That's an offense that, while good, it could go to that next level and be great. And, of course, they go with right outside linebacker. Not one of my top picks for him. I really didn't have that on my radar. Not sure if that's more of a future pick. When you're winning the Super Bowls and you've got the last pick, you've got that luxury of taking those picks going towards the future. We've rolled back around here into the second round. New Orleans Saints are back on the clock. Those 0-16 Saints went wide receiver earlier. Perhaps this is where we see a quarterback, Bomber?
If this is where they want to go quarterback, I would say I was thinking this or the third round. But are they giving up on Drew Brees? I haven't heard that from the camp. I've heard Megatron 2.0, and I don't know how you have a Megatron 2.0 if you don't have a Drew Brees. You know, and I don't see a Drew Brees in this draft. But if they do go quarterback in this draft, I'm going to say they're going to have to take probably Poe from Texas. He didn't have the greatest combine. He wasn't, fast on his feet. But I'll tell you what, he does have very nice throwing accuracy, especially his short into the flats. And when you draft a number one player that has the potential to be the next Megatron, I mean, how much accuracy do you really need?
Yeah, going back to what I opened the draft with, I haven't seen a lot of rush outside linebackers. I know Jackson just went to Atlanta. I'd like to see the Saints here maybe go linebacker, either middle linebacker, in 3-4 for run stopping capability, or maybe a rush linebacker, an outside left or right linebacker. Not a ton of talent in that linebacking group. So if the Saints go linebacker here, I'd be perfectly happy with it. And of course, that's one of those things that whole defense has issues up and down it. When you're the 30th rated defense, obviously that's an issue. So anywhere on the defensive side, I'm okay. It does look like they actually go with Peterson, the defensive tackle. Not a huge fan of this, but it's not a killer for me. I just think they got to get to the quarterback if they want to compete. 34th pick, second round, Houston Texans. Lip, you got the Texans. They traded back in the first round. Now they're back in that early round pick for them. Houston Texans, what do they do?
I said it in the first round. I still think that they have to get somebody on the offense. Particularly the offensive line. If they can get that, maybe later in the third they could pick up a running back and really start to get this offense going. They went defense in the first round. Maybe they're looking to improve the defense, and then they'll work on the offense later. But I see some spots on the offense that could really use some young guys that could be there for a long time.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the Texans waited far too long. A lot of the top talent at line are gone. It may be too early to reach on some of that next tier lineman. Still some good halfbacks on the board. I think we've only seen one go off so far. I'd really like to see him go halfback here, replace Arian Foster, and go that direction. I think with Foster gone, they got to recreate that production. Foster, 601 yards, 6 TDs. Not a great year, but still production they don't have on their roster at this point. So it looks like they do. They go with the halfback Gray. I love this pick for the Texans. Now they're going to have to figure out how to solidify that offensive line a little bit better. Next up on the clock, the Oakland Raiders. They went tight end earlier. Bomber, have we hit that next tier of cornerbacks yet that will allow the Raiders to come back through, or are they going to have to hold out for another round before they go and get their guy at cornerback?
I think it's a little early to go. I don't see any cornerbacks that should go in the next round or two, honestly. I think this team right here is definitely in need of some defense and some secondary defense, but unfortunately this draft did not have the depth to help them. They could look at Phillips from the University of Florida. This Gator was a good safety. He converted to free safety from strong safety in the middle of the year. He really excelled out there in open space. But is he the guy for the Raiders after Woodson retired? I don't know. He's definitely not going to be Woodson, but he might be best available right now for Oakland.
I agree. They went offensive side of the ball last time. I think they looked defensive side of the ball this time. They've got a lot of young talent on this team. It's a very talented team, but that secondary needs some work. It's young. It's inexperienced. There's no Woodson now. You've got some guys in there I think that can help, but they got to solidify the secondary. I wouldn't be surprised if they went secondary here. I think they can't really go corner at this point, so I would look to safety. A bunch of safeties go off the boards, so either way, but I think you have to go defensive side of the ball at this point. Offense is very talented.
Definitely.
Anything else,
they
as
lost
I
Charles
say
Woodson. Lost Charles Woodson.
Right. And we say that and they go halfback. To me that makes no sense. It may have been a value pick at this point, but Latavius Murray's there. He's doing a good job. I just don't understand that pick by the Raiders. That's something we'll have to ask them about later on the wrap-up show.
Definitely.
San Diego Superchargers. Lip, we talked about them, a little bit of a mysterious team. They had the 5th overall offense, 29th overall defense. Not a great defense, pretty good offense. They were losing a lot, so they had to throw. Where are we going here with the San Diego Superchargers?
Well, the Chargers really need some help up front on the defense. The defensive line could really use somebody that can come in and get a pass rush and help improve that defense. They picked up Meebane at defensive tackle in free agency. That could be a big help, but if they give somebody on their defensive line on the edge to create pressure, that could really help get the ball back for them more and take some of the pressure off the offense.
Yeah, so I agree. Left end would be great. Left outside linebacker would be even better. Let's put somebody opposite Ingram that can really get after the quarterback. Not a lot of rush linebackers have gone yet. There's still talent in this draft at rush linebacker, whether it's a right or left outside linebacker. It doesn't matter. This league is a throw-in league, right? You throw to put up the points. You run to win the game. You got to stop them. And if you're going to stop them, you got to get a rush going. And so if the Chargers get a rush linebacker here, I think it's going to help them hold on to some of these leads they have at the end of the game. Lost a bunch of heartbreakers. So rush linebacker here is the direction that I think these Superchargers are going to go. And there he comes off the board. We got the left outside linebacker, Crawford. I love that pick by the Chargers. I think Zahn's got the Chargers going in the right direction. New York Giants, Eli Manning's gone. We think they're going to stick with Osweiler, but where are we going, Bomber? Where are the Giants going?
Okay, I've talked to Tom, the owner of the Giants, a couple times in the last 48 hours. They told me they're not going quarterback, and they told me they might go quarterback in the second round. They were unsure. Their free agency didn't work out tremendously well, but they were really excited about who they got with Akeem Nicks and other guys. I'm going to say, long story short, they're going to go quarterback, and they're going Brandon Patrick from LSU. This guy ran a 4.85 at the combine, and you're like, not ultra fast, but I'll tell you what, that's not his game speed. He's a lot faster than he runs the 40, and I can tell you that. And this guy's got some ability to make big plays happen, and he definitely has the ability to extend the plays, and they might need that with that offensive line that they got in New York.
Yeah, don't be surprised if they get a running quarterback in New York. They had Tim Tebow on the roster last year. The owner and the coaches there, they like the idea of a little wildcat, a little option running, something to just mix up the play calling a little bit. So I would not be surprised if they did go with your pick, the running quarterback. Wide receiver's interesting there. They went wide receiver earlier. There was talk that Victor Cruz may actually get cut. Hakeem Nicks got brought in. Wide receiver would be an interesting just because I think the Victor Cruz is going to be on his way out eventually. A lot of drop balls in New York made Eli Manning look a little bit worse than he really was, which it can be hard to do at times, but they definitely figured out a way to make Eli Manning look a little bit worse. Other notes here, possibly some defensive stuff, but I like the quarterback here as well, Bomber. So I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. We got about 5 seconds here on the clock, so we get a middle linebacker instead. That's why this is such crazy.
Roach is he's a good player. Might have been best available for them, and that guy, he was up there with the other middle linebacker that went number 2 overall.
My only question though is, was it the right play? I can't argue too much with it, but that's something we'll have to wait and see. Arizona Cardinals. Carson Palmer retired. Chris Johnson retired. They go out. They trade for Logan Thomas from Miami. I'm not sure that's the best call in the world, but that's their choice. They're going to play Logan Thomas. Chris Johnson, you got 331 yards. You got a couple touchdowns. Do we see the replacement for Chris Johnson here, Lip?
Oh boy, I don't know if you can replace Chris Johnson. I think that this might be Andre Ellington's time to step up. I know he's had a lot of time there to do so, but I don't think that they'll go running back here. I think that they need to go out and find themselves an outside linebacker because they just picked up Damon Harris in free agency. So if they give themselves a even better defense to help keep the offense simple for Logan Thomas, then I think that can assist in his development, and that could be a good plan for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think a rush outside linebacker makes sense here. We may see a run on those here soon. A lot of 3-4 defenses here. And that's another shocker for us. Quarterback. So you just traded for Logan Thomas.
Just traded.
You go out and you get Wheeler. So you got a quarterback controversy after you just traded for a quarterback. That's confusing. There's things that make no sense, and then there's that, and that's on a whole nother level. Got to trust the ownership out there, but that's one of those things where I think a quarterback this early at this point after trading for Logan Thomas may have been a little bit of a reach. So we'll have to see how this goes. St. Louis Rams. You got Draco on the clock, playing in the same division as the previously mentioned Cardinals. The Rams finished 4th in this division last year, and it wasn't because of their defense. It's that offense. Got to look here for maybe some more weapons on the offensive line, or on the offense in general. We talked about this before, the whole Nick Foles weapons argument. Bomber, they won defense last time. Is this where Nick Foles gets a weapon?
They went O.C. Odom last time, who's a good cornerback, and he might end up having a really good career. I'm gonna say you're right with defense. I was wrong. I thought maybe they'd go wide receiver. I'm gonna say left end Tooney Phillip from Florida State, and if they don't go there, and I think that's the best available right now in my opinion. And if they don't go there, I would say probably wide receiver, and I like Tercel Burns again. But he's a very similar player to Tavon Austin as far as explosiveness and ability to get downfield and take the top off the defense.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing here is maybe a wide receiver. I think defense, if they go another end, it's the future replacement to Long. But I really like the wide receiver here. I like what you said about Burns. He is a Tavon Austin 2.0 per se, but I think he's a good match here for the St. Louis Rams. Give Nick Foles some more underneath route receivers, and that's your boy. That's Burns. So good call there by Bomber on that. So let's look back here to the Philadelphia Eagles. Cornerback is a question that can continue to be answered there. Defensive tackle, left tackle, these are all things that we talked about a little bit before the draft. I come back to the Sam Bradford thing. I think that could be something to consider to look at, because I'm not sure any of the left tackles or anything else are on the board right now that really makes sense for these guys. So, first off, do we go offensive or defensive side of the ball? If we go offense, all signs point to Sam Bradford being the problem with that offense. Do we see a quarterback?
Well, the contract that they offered Sam Bradford, it's not a big deal. He could be replace no issue. So if they did go quarterback here and he did really well, it's not like they're losing a whole lot by moving on from Sam Bradford. And I think that you can see throughout the season that there was some times where Sam Bradford was really in question out there. So if they went quarterback here and found the right guy, I don't think that I don't think you can make a mistake by doing that.
I agree. They got the weapons, they got the young guys, they got the tight ends. But how do you end up with the 27th rated passing offense? DeMarco Murray's putting you in great position, over 1,000 yards rushing, 7 TDs. Jordan Matthews, like I said, Ertz, just a lot of talent there. I really think, Sam Bradford's time, he may be holding on to the job for a year, but I expect him to lose that job within the next year to hopefully a quarterback drafted this round to the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's what we've got here. So it looks like the Eagles viewed Bradford the same as up, maybe a stopgap, maybe competing this year. We'll have to wait and find out. But the Redskins are on the clock right now. And we're going to look over here and we're going to talk to Bomber here. Bomber, the Redskins.
I love them. I love them. I love them. I love them.
You love you some Redskins.
Yes, I do.
So safety here. I feel like the Washington Redskins have to protect the back end of their offense or their defense. I would love to see a safety go here right now. Their rushing defense isn't very good. So maybe something to solidify that. Maybe an outside linebacker. But a safety and in the box, maybe a strong safety that can come down, lay the boom. I really want to see safety here. What do you think?
I like it, and if they do, I'd like to see Phillips go from Florida. He's a second round talent easily in this draft, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went halfback. If they look to get some speed on the halfback side, Alfred Morris only averaged 3.9 yards a carry. He only had 4 touchdowns. They only had 6 rushing touchdowns from halfbacks last year. So I would definitely think it could be possible that they go with halfback, and if they do, I like Julius Burton from Penn State, another Penn State guy. There's a bunch of great Penn State players in this draft, and also you got Abraham Griffin from Pittsburgh, and he worked in the spread, and that looks like what they've been running over there in Washington, and he might fit in nicely.
Yeah, like I said, I still think they need something on that defensive side of the ball. Morse is serviceable. 3.9 yards a carry. The offense is struggling in general. They go with the outside linebacker there. Like I said, I hopefully it'll help with the run stuffing, but if anything, it'll get them to the passer and just put more pressure on that. So I like to pick in Washington. I know you love you some Redskins, but now on the clock we got the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans. Marcus Mariota struggling in his first year a little bit. 15 TDs to 30 INTs. They're the 32nd ranked offense, 30th passing, 30th rushing. They get the running backs as we talked about. Do we see some more offensive line help here, or do we see them go with maybe a wide receiver here to give Mariota some more targets? Lip, what do you think?
I think that they just brought in Arian Foster, Matt Forte. They have 4 other running backs on this roster. I think that they need to get help up front, maybe center, maybe somewhere else, and get the ball rolling with the run game. Because once you get that run game going, that's going to make it so much easier for Mariota to step up and be that quarterback that everybody wanted him to be, everybody knows he is. And once you get that going, then you can get Kendall Wright going and Green Beckham going, and that'll really make this offense a lot better.
Yeah, so they go with the left guard Blaylock last round, which was a great pick. I think that helps with the running game. I'd like to see them maybe look to a right tackle. I know they brought in Barksdale. He's a little older. I'd like to see if there's a right tackle on their board that they felt comfortable with, maybe go right tackle. Center's kind of cleared out a little bit. I'm not sure there's a center on the board that's worth taking at this point, but maybe even a wide receiver would help here. Like I said, somebody to give Marcus Mariota a few more targets. Green Beckham, 688 yards, Walker 686. I think they could use another guy in there to go along with Kendall Wright, give them their 3 wide receiver set. And we get the wide receiver Vincent to fit in with what we were just talking about. I like that pick by the Titans. Got to fix that offense first. The defense did its job. Now the offense needs to. Next on the clock, Bomber, Chicago Bears. You know these guys very well. We saw some stuff here from I said it last time, I'll say it again. It's a dumpster fire. It's not going to be fixed in one draft. Coaches always say you build from within, you build from the lines. I think they got to go with one side or the other here, lines. I would be happy going offensive line here. I'd be happy going defensive line here. I think they went offensive line in the first round with the center Mason. I'd like to see them maybe put a tackle in there with them, a right tackle. Or I could see them going to the other side of the ball and going with a defensive tackle or possibly some more depth at end. What are your thoughts with building from the trenches for these Chicago Bears?
Oh, I definitely agree that building from the trenches is probably the smart thing to do. They went center in the first round, but I think they lost Matt Forte. That was 4.7 yards a carry. That was every touchdown they had rushing came from one guy, Matt Forte, and guess what? He's gone. They need a running back, and I think this owner might go with the talent, might go with the skill player, and I'm thinking FIU, the zone running Herschel Patrick. He's 5'11", 214, and he had a really good combine, and he's just a strong, smart player that can change direction, very shifty, and I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago, went ahead and took a halfback right here, either this round or the next.
Yeah, I think there's still one round too early on a halfback. I think you build on the line, you protect the line, you protect Jay Cutler, and you go lineman here. Like I said, in the trenches, you build from the trenches. Team's not going to win right away. You're expecting another losing season next year probably. Jay Cutler's going to take his hits for the team. Go ahead and go line here. We get the defensive tackle Phelps. I like this pick. It's solidifying the middle of that defense, a defense that struggled at times last year to stop the run. Jacksonville Jaguars, it's their first pick in the draft. They don't have a lot of holes. This Jags team's interesting. Blake Bortles, when things didn't go his way, the team often lost. Very dependent on the running game. TJ Yeldon, Denard Robinson, bring in a couple other backs in free agency that's going to make that backfield very interesting. I think it's too crowded. I don't think everybody's going to get the touches they want. I like the Jaguars to go quarterback here if they see somebody worth value. I don't think Blake Bortles is the future in Jacksonville, and they want him gone. So I could see quarterback here. If not, I could see him going maybe tight end, maybe defensive tackle, tight end more so, just to get a backup in there for Julius Thomas, maybe 2 tight end sets. So, Lip, AFC opponent, we're both very familiar with Mac and the Jaguars. Where do you think they go?
Well, I mean, if you're going to base it off the frustration that you kind of saw towards the end of the season, you would almost expect them to go quarterback right here. A lot of people very unsure if Blake Bortles can be the guy, but if they're going to stick with him for another year, I think that the Jaguars could go at defensive tackle and take somebody to help them out on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville had some struggles, especially in the draft. Their defense got exposed a little bit. 4th rushing defense, 24th passing defense in the league last year. Pass rush would be great, but anywhere in the middle of that defensive line, I think, would really help solidify that line. Maybe a little push up the middle. Quarterbacks having pressure in the middle of their face is always a bad thing. So, the Jaguars kind of go the opposite there. They add a right guard. I felt pretty good about that line. I'm not sure they needed to go line there. But, anytime you can protect your quarterback, it's a good day. Minnesota Vikings on the clock. It's another division opponent here for you, Bomber. These Vikings better than anybody else. You beat them twice last year. They finished towards the bottom of your division. What do the Vikings need to do here to climb to the division, be a challenger to you and your Detroit Lions?
What the Vikings need right now is they need defensive end help. That's one thing I think they should draft here. They got Brian Robinson. He's 33 years old at the left end right now. I think they can bring somebody in right here that could definitely help solidify that D line. But, I mean, you look at them in the back end, middle line, from linebacker to safety, cornerback, they're fine. And they just drafted a wide receiver in the first round. So I couldn't really imagine them going skill position again after drafting Brian, number 13 overall. I would say definitely they're probably going to be looking at somewhere on the D line.
Yeah, I agree with you. That right guard, I think, would have fit perfectly in with Minnesota. You've got an aging right guard there that they probably could have replaced, so I think they're probably gritting their teeth quite hard at this point, wishing that they'd been just a few picks before. I agree that they're not going to go skill position. I could see them going cornerback if there was somebody there. Otherwise, you know, I think they may look to somewhere else along that offensive line just to solidify that a little bit better, and try to give Teddy Bridgewater and AP a good line to work behind. We get the left tackle, Travis, there. Travis is an interesting prospect. I could see them moving him maybe to guard down the road. That's something we'll have to watch. I'm not sure he has the feet quickness to get outside and stop those speed rushers. So could be a good pick for there. We'll have to wait and see. Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. They went with the shocker earlier this round, I should say, in the quarterback. Lip, do we finally get the running back that we've been talking about, or are we looking at another shocker here from the Cardinals?
Well, for me, I still think that they're okay at running back. I still think that they could get somebody at outside linebacker. And also, you could look at cornerback for the Cardinals. I know they have Patrick Peterson, but they only have 3 corners on the roster right now. Patrick Peterson's the only one right now that you can rely on, so they could go 2 spots on defense. But if they went running back, it wouldn't be a bad selection.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a rush outside linebacker would be a good call here. They need to get to the quarterback. Cornerback's a tough thing. I think anybody you get at this point is really just depth for now. Going to take some time to develop. You could see the Cardinals go that direction. You could see them go halfback or rush linebacker. As we learned earlier on, really no way to predict what play is going to do out there in the desert. I think I'm looking at some good guys on my board right now that I would like to see them take as far as a rush outside linebacker goes. But you never know. Will it be halfback? Will it be linebacker? Looks like the pick's in, and it is a linebacker, Holmes. For the craziness that was the early part of the second round here with the Cardinals, they redeemed themselves. I like this pick for them. I think this guy's going to get to the quarterback, and I think he's going to make a great Arizona Cardinal. Next up, we have Backley and the Denver Broncos. The Broncos came on at the end of last season. They started off very slow. You know, had the season been a couple weeks longer, you may have seen these Broncos in the playoffs. Like I said earlier, the line, they did some work, got it kind of solidified in free agency. What are we looking at here from the Denver Broncos, Bomber?
I'm thinking they need to solidify the line even more. It looks like they have right tackle issues, and they probably could also take a left guard. They got a really young line and even a center, but I'm going to say go with the left tackle from Wisconsin, the Badger, Michael Woodson. And I brought him up before. He's definitely a second-round talent. He's a good blocker. He's a great at pull on the run. He definitely could help this Broncos offense get back on his feet and give the defense a little bit of help.
I like the measurables of Woodson. I worry about, can he pass protect? Will he protect Osweiler's blind side? Or not Osweiler, Glennon, I should say. Will he protect the blind side? I'm not sure that's his forte. He's more of a road grading left tackle. It looks like they go the opposite there. They go on the other side of the line. They go to left end Cooper. Not a bad pick. Can never have too many defensive linemen. But I'm not sure it was a pick of need. But that roster doesn't have a lot of holes. So you can never complain when you have a talented roster like the Denver Broncos. Next up, we've got the New York Jets. They are on the clock right now. Lip, Jets, what are we thinking here with the New York Jets?
Well, I like what they did whenever they went out and they took some offensive line help. That's a good decision. I think that they should look at the inside of the defensive line this time around. I think that if they got somebody at defensive tackle, that could really help Richardson and Wilkerson out to get a pass rush, and that could make this defense far more scary than it already is, and then that'll take some pressure off of Bryce Petty in this offense. Then they can do some really good things.
I agree with you. I think they're going to go somewhere in that linebacking core. I like the pass rush. Harris is getting a little bit older, so I could see him going middle linebacker. Either way, I think they're going somewhere on that defensive side of the ball for such a highly regarded defense. You know, at times last year they looked pretty poor, so linebacking play could be helped. As I've preached this whole time, you really have to get to the quarterback in this league. So if you can get to the quarterback, you can sack the quarterback, you have a shot to win every game you're in. We'll have to wait and see what happens here. Delvar's a good owner. The New York Jets are on the right path. 8-8. They were right there down the stretch. You know, very similar to the Broncos. They've got 1 or 2 more games left in them, and we may be talking about them being in the playoffs right now at this point. So, I really want to go with a linebacker here. You know, offensive lineman I can maybe see as well, but wow. Bomber, explain this to me. You've got all the defensive linemen in the world, and you go defensive tackle. What was that pick about?
If I could read his mind, I would tell you right now. I'm a little stunned as it is. They lost some players due to free agency. That's the only thing to explain why you go D tackle right there. Maybe they're going best available. Maybe they got bigger plans for him to possibly play DN. And maybe in the 3-4 play some some substitution sub moments on their D line. But their D line stacked. Really head scratching moment for the New York Jets and owner Delvar.
Yeah, you know, Saints on the clock here. I've harped on it. We got wide receiver in the first round. You got your Megatron 2.0. We got defensive tackle in the start of the second round. Got to get a linebacker here.
Yep.
There's some
Michael
good linebackers
Woodson.
on the board.
Michael Woodson, I'm saying it again. I've said it. I've said his name 5 times. The Saints cannot pass on this guy. This Badger pulled that defense. He pulled their running game to top 5 in the country. That passing game was top 10 in the country. The Badgers are really we're blessed to have this guy on the line, and he did a lot more than shows up on film. And I'll tell you that he's a locker room leader. He's a good guy, and I think they should take him.
So, I lot of issues up and down that Saints team. You don't go 0-16 by accident. You know, they go with the right tackle.
At least they went O-line.
I can't fault them there. At some point, these linebackers have to be addressed. They are atrocious. They're lacking talent. Maybe we see some late round help there, but at this point, I think you're probably going to change out what you already have. But we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, you don't go from 0-16 to playoffs overnight. Could be part of a longer building plan here for the New Orleans Saints. Pick number 50. We got the St. Louis Rams, possibly the LA Rams in the future. Lip, Rams, Nick Foles, weapons. What are we doing here?
Do they like Nick Foles is my question. If they do, then they could continue to get some more weapons for that offense because the defense is pretty good. And if they could get some more people to help Nick Foles or get a younger quarterback that they can really believe in, that could really change this team completely. Because if you give a really good offense to this team with a really good defense already, then this could really be a really good team.
So they went out, they got a wide receiver earlier this round. They got Tavon Austin 2.0. So you got 2 smaller guys, 2 speedier guys zipping around doing their thing. The question is, are you building this team around Nick Foles? Are you building this team around Todd Gurley? Is Nick Foles just going to be a game manager going forward? All things we need to figure out. Possibly maybe we see a left end here. I think Chris Long, his career's on the backside. He's not getting any younger. Could be playing for the future here. Something we'll have to look at. But that Nick Foles argument is going to keep coming up throughout the draft because, you know, anytime you throw for 1,800 yards, you're not really instilling confidence in the organization. And with that being said, we have a quarterback to the Rams. Nick Foles, Powell, they will be in competition, I would guess, this year. It'll be interesting. 1,800 yards. Was that Nick Foles? Was that coaching? Was that ownership? We'll find out as Powell looks to inherit the reins in St. Louis. Jackie Moon, New England Patriots. Tom Brady, he's back for one more hurrah. Who are the New England Patriots taking to give Tom Brady the best chance to win a Super Bowl, Bomber?
They just brought in Justin Forsett. I would think they would go somewhere in the O-line.
I agree with you. I think you want to give Brady the best protection in the world, which makes you wonder why they just took a halfback. You just paid Justin Forsett all this money. Why take a halfback if you're going to bring this guy in? I understand he's older. I understand he's not going to be the long-term solution there, but Tom Brady only has a finite amount of number of games left in him. If you don't win now, when will you ever win? Not sure I understand that pick, but
and
we're
you
on
can't
to
understand
Tampa
the
Bay.
money. They paid the money to Justin Forsett. They gave him $8 million signing bonus, 3 years, $15 million, to come in there and draft a halfback in the second round. Even though it's a late second round, middle to late, it's still a little bit of a head scratcher, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. I don't get that pick, but luckily the Buccaneers on the clock. We got the white shaft. We're going to see what they're going to do here. Lip, they need help in the secondary. They especially need some depth. They did some work, brought in Adam Jones, they found a couple other cornerbacks for depth. Not sure those are really the long-term answers. Left guard, they covered in free agency. At this point in the draft, you're probably not getting instant starters. You're probably looking down the road. So if you're looking at their team and you're looking down the road maybe 1, 2, 3 years, where do you think these Buccaneers need to go to help Jameis Winston improve and grow as a quarterback and lead this team to a championship?
Well, I think with Adam Jones being their number 2 corner, they're going to have to, maybe at this point in the draft, find somebody who can come in and try to assist in that secondary. Also, on offense, I mean, they have the quarterback, they have the wide receivers. If they can find somebody that can come in and help their offensive line, maybe get Doug Martin going. But I also question if Doug Martin is their guy. Not really sure about him. And also getting a tight end who is dominant at this point in the draft to help Winston develop more, that could make that offense really scary and help them out as a team.
The Texans are now on the clock.
So they're creating pass rush. They go with the left and Pearson. I like that. Jacquez Smith, you put him on the opposite side. You get some pass rush there. Smith had 8 sacks last year. I preached it all draft. I'll keep preaching it. You get to the quarterback, you win in this league. They're creating pass rush. I like that pick. If your cornerbacks can't hold up, you got to knock the quarterback down before they can throw it to him. Houston Texans on the clock. Pick number 53. Is Ryan Mouth the answer here? Is Tom Savage the answer here? Savage, 12 TDs, 29 interceptions. He's probably shook. Do you get him some weapons? What are we doing in Houston, Bomber?
I'm going to say Houston is...
Houston
should
takes
be
a wide
looking at-
receiver.
You've
They
got
take
to
a wide
wonder.
receiver. And I would have known... who could have guessed that? Who could have guessed that?
You've got to wonder when they're going to start to get some offensive line help here, because without that, how is this wide receiver and this running back and Ryan Mount going to succeed?
They're going to be on the ground a lot, and that's, bad teams stay bad when they don't build from the trenches. Speaking of that, the Jaguars went right guard last time. A little bit of a shocker here for us. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bomber, let's go back to you. Where are the Jags going?
Actually, I just got a message from one of my sources, and they're saying Jaguars are looking at going O-line. Okay, now if they're going to go O-line, let's say they take a guard. I'd say they go with the guard. I've heard Marsh, possibly a guard that they might take. He's actually at the bottom of my draft list. It would be a little bit of a reach to take him at this point, but that's what my source is saying, that they're really high on this guy. He's a good character guy. Also, there's a right tackle, Anthony, that they're also looking at taking. He's also bottom of my draft board as well. So I couldn't tell you where they're going. Maybe they go linebacker.
I have a
go
source that just came in that says the Jags are looking to go outside linebacker.
Okay.
This could change their defense if this is the direction that they're going to go.
Yeah, that defense we talked about last pick, it needs some work. I think what you're going to see here is a defense that's trying to get some pressure. Not necessarily always blitzing to stop the pass, but blitzing to stop the run. And that's what you get there in Sanders, outside linebacker. I like that pick for the Jags. They're working on that, improving that defense. They had a good run last year. I think they're going to be in position to win for a long time. You got the
Definitely.
Indianapolis Colts. You got Andrew Luck, T.Y. Hilton. We talked about it. Are they going to get another wide receiver to pair with T.Y. Hilton? There's some questions there. They go halfback earlier. I think the Colts have to go wide receiver here. They did some work in free agency on the line. They brought in Junior Gillette to give them some pass rush. Maybe a center, maybe a strong safety. Lip, where are we going here with the Colts?
This is actually a spot that I like I like the wide receiver pick for them. If they can get a wide receiver that can be that really big guy that can be like a Calvin Johnson type wide receiver, I think that can make this offense really good.
Yeah, so I agree. Andrew Luck is an interesting, quarterback. He's a good product, 62% passer, 3,000 yards last year, 16 TDs, 59 INTs. Needs to cut down on the INTs. The defense was the fourth-rate defense. They can stop the guys, but they got to be able to score. The 20th-rated offense. They go out, they get the running back to take some of the pressure off Luck. T.Y. Hilton, Dante Moncrief, Kobe Fleener, then what?
I say Tree O'Brien. What about Tree O'Brien, Northwestern State, 6'2". This guy's got a ton of ability. He's kind of just what they need to make a little trio. He'll be third on that depth chart, but I think he's got the size that Andrew Luck needs.
Yeah, I like Brian. I'm not sure if he's a fit here in Indianapolis. We'll wait and see. It's a preference thing at this point. Some people are going to like Brian. Some people may like someone else. But either way, these Colts are going to go wide receiver. They go with Ford. I probably preferred Brian a little more here than Ford. But, I can't fault them. They did what they needed to do. And,
they needed a wide receiver. Yep.
We're happy
exactly
with that.
Right. Yep.
New England Patriots are on the board. Or on the clock, I should say. Lip, we talked about these Patriots. It's Tom Brady's last year. It's Tom Brady's last hurrah. Peyton Manning retires last year. Eli Manning retires last year. Tom Brady's hanging in there. Wants to be a part of a championship team. How are we going to get Tom Brady a championship here in New England, Lip?
Well, I think that they've got some decent things going for them. I think that if they, similar to the Colts, if they added a really big, dominant, talented, skilled wide receiver, that could give this offense even more firepower. I'm not sure that you're going to find a whole lot of talent for the defense to improve. They have some good linebackers. They have some corners who can get them through. But unless they find that good defensive star, they should look somewhere on the offense to make this offense even more exciting.
And speak of the devil, they take a right guard. Not sure there was a huge need there. But what I will say about that is anytime you can keep Tom Brady upright, it's a good day. Tom Brady can't take the hits like he used to be able to. So I like this pick here. Pure speculative. They're looking long-term down the road. I don't think Wilson's an instant starter from day one, but maybe in a year, maybe two, he works in there. He's the future, maybe protecting Jimmy Garoppolo in that future. We're back to the Jags. We just got the Jags. They took a guard earlier. My question is, they got the guard, they got the linebacker. Now what? The Jags, pretty talented team, pretty young team. Not a ton of holes on this team. Do we maybe see something happening here? Is this a quarterback possibly? Is this... It's hard to tell with these Jaguars. Could it be a backup tight end? Julius Thomas, a little bit older, injury prone. They don't have a lot of talent behind him on that line or on that tight end position. Where do we go here with the Jaguars, Bomber?
I'm thinking at 11-5, they want to continue that success they had at the ground and pound, and I'm going to push my guy again, Michael Woodson, Wisconsin Badger. Left tackle, move him to right tackle. You got a hole there, and play him there. He's growing. He's definitely a project right now, but he can definitely help you in the long term. 2 or 3 years from now, he's going to be one of the top linemen from this draft, and I'd say top 5. And it would be a shame if he didn't go right now to Jacksonville. It'd be a great fit.
So we get Belton, we get the quarterback. It looks like the Blake Bortles era may be coming to an end in Jacksonville. I'm interested by this pick. I think this pick could work out very well for those Jaguars. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to look to the future. Training camp will be interesting. Preseason will be interesting. I'm guessing he will jump into that competition right away. Bortles, Belton, who wins? Nobody knows. I could see Bortles getting traded away eventually in a year or two. But that's an interesting pick by the Jaguars. Can't say I don't agree with it. Project Fat, Oakland Raiders. Talked about him a lot. Derek Carr, very successful. How are we going to keep him successful, Lip? What do we got to do? I think we were talking earlier that secondary's not got that Woodson guy back there anymore to make all those plays for him. So do we finally get the safety for that secondary here for the Oakland Raiders?
I think you have to look back there for something. Like I said earlier, they have some young guys that can kind of do the job, but they don't have anybody who's going to step up and be a leader and try to make these younger guys play up. So I think if you can find, if Project Fat can find a star to replace Woodson, that could make this defense really good and, you know, like I've been saying, help the offense out.
Yeah, you know, I like Phillips out of Florida. Maybe a little early to take him. There's some good help there. I really like some of the safeties at this point. I think this would be a great place in the draft. Maybe settle down, look to go safety. You may be looking at a guy here that could be your next Woodson, that could really step up and do some really big things for him. So if I am the Oakland Raiders here, I'm thinking I got to get a safety. I got to solidify that back end. That cornerback, that secondary area is very thin. So the pick is in, and it is a cornerback. Not quite your Woodson. Now, obviously, he did move to safety later in his career, so maybe we see that, but not sure if that was the pick I would necessarily make, but not a bad pick there for the Oakland Raiders. My Cincinnati Bengals are up on the clock. Bomber. Last time Lip said it, who are the Cincinnati Bengals need to look at here?
The Cincinnati Bengals are definitely a solid team. I'd go ahead and say that they might be looking at wide receiver right now, and I wouldn't be surprised to replace Marvin Lewis, who they traded last year. They didn't get Mike Williams. They struck out in the free agency. They lost to the Giants. Mike Williams went elsewhere. And I'd say since they couldn't get a Knicks, I say they go with a guy similar, Trey O'Brien from Northwestern State. He's 6'2", 214. He's a solid big target receiver. He can definitely create havoc playing alongside AJ Green, and he could definitely get down the field and make some spectacular catches for this team.
That is definitely a pick that is going to scare the rest of the AFC North. Going back a little bit, talk about the halfback selected by the Dallas Cowboys. We already know they have an incredible offensive line. They've got Des Bryant. They've got Tony Romo. Is this Burton guy going to be one of the dominant halfbacks in this league?
Yeah, he definitely could be a change of pace back. Maybe he's the speed back that they need. They got Michael running back there behind that just amazing offensive line. And, you get a nice change of pace to come in there and really open up the defense, kind of like when the Cowboys used Randall and DeMarco Murray a couple seasons ago in the NFL. This is the MBL. This is not the NFL, but similar strategies do apply. Right now, we're still waiting on the Bengals pick to come in.
The Bills are now on the clock.
And then we're going to go ahead and run to the finish up the second round with the broadcast. Then we're going to bring in a couple owners. And these owners are basically going to talk about their picks and their selections and how they felt they did in the draft once the second round ends. We're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals owner after the draft is ready to go, after the second round finishes up. And he's going to go ahead and talk about his team and stuff like that and let us know how he thinks he did in the draft. Lip, how do you think the Cardinals did in the draft?
I think the Cardinals did some good things. There's still some holes on the team. You wonder what's going on with the quarterback selection, and also the trade that brought Logan Thomas to town. That's going to be something that we're going to have to keep our eye on and watch what that situation is going to end up like. We have a similar situation with two quarterbacks that either one could come in and be the starter, similar in Jacksonville. And they're going to be solid. They're going to be a good team, and I would really like to see this young quarterback do well, because the rest of the team is going to look to him and try to play well to have that team move forward.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. The Bengals went ahead with the 62nd pick. They were 30th in the second round. They went ahead and selected free safety, Alexander. That should definitely help this team. They're just solidifying their secondary with a selection like this in the second round. With coming off a really great season where they got a lot of production out of the running back, you knew that defense, and especially the secondary where they had a lot of young players, was going to be where they would be looking to continue to build and grow from. The Bills are currently on the clock. Where do you think the Bills are going to go right now with this pick? They went to the Super Bowl this year. They fell a little bit short, but they got a lot of young talent. Where do you think they go?
I think that there's there's a lot of different places that they could go, not necessarily somewhere that they absolutely need, but anybody that they take right now can help their position get a little better, and that might be just what they need to push them to win the Super Bowl. They made it this year. Very good team, just fell a little short, but history shows they know exactly what they're doing, so no matter what they do, you got to have confidence in them.
All right, the Bills went ahead and took a halfback, Bryant, and possibly a future guy to take carries off of LaShawn McCoy, maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, LaShawn McCoy right now is sitting at 28 years old. You're not really sure about the guy, how he's going to do moving forward. So taking a running back,
because we know
at this point,
we know 30 is the age. No, 30 is the age on running backs when they really start to decline, and that's something that Bayou's probably looking at and saying, let me prepare myself to slowly transition this and maybe have a two-headed monster in the next couple years.
That's exactly what we could see happen, because as you see LaShawn McCoy start to go down, this guy could really step up in those times. And when you don't have LaShawn McCoy carrying the ball every single play, and you can have that younger guy come in and fill in, and if he produces well, a couple years from now, this could be a very scary running back duo.
So the Atlanta Falcons here just finish us out here. They go with the defensive tackle Austin. And that kind of ends our coverage here for the live first two rounds of this draft. While we wait to get some of the owners here to talk about their drafts and how they think they did, instant reactions from the first two rounds. Bomber, what do you think, and what are some things that stood out to you in the first two rounds of this draft?
Okay, well, and so obviously what the paper's going to print tomorrow. The MBL is officially the Nick Gordon League. A slight over-exaggeration, but in 3 years it might not be so funny. I think he is a tremendous talent. I think he's going to do great in New Orleans, and I think playing with Drew Brees is only going to make him a better wide receiver in the future, whether it be just this year or 2 more years from now. But just that experience alone and that veteran leadership that Drew Brees is going to be able to give him, I think the Saints are the real winners, and they had the first – I know from 0-16 calling them a winner – I think they are the real winners in this draft, and I think they had a really solid draft, and they went ahead and did what they were supposed to do with the number 1 pick, and with the number 1 pick in the later rounds as well.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. The thing that stands out to me is the Arizona Cardinals, and we're going to get them on here in a second to ask them about that. But you trade for Logan Thomas, and then you go with the quarterback early in the second round. I think you're sending some mixed messages there. I'm curious to see how that will go over in Arizona with Logan Thomas after just finding out recently he's getting shipped there. I think that'll be something interesting. So I think they may be ready. Let's see if we got the owner of the Arizona Cardinals on the line. Player partner, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. So thanks for joining us here on MBL Live.
Thanks for inviting me.
We were just talking about your draft so far. You complete the trade right before the draft starts to get Logan Thomas, and then you throw the shocker to the world, and you draft a quarterback in the second round. Tell us about your thinking with that.
Well, we're always looking for competition at every position. So we saw on our board that this young man was still on there, and he had first round talent. So we decided to take a chance. You know, nothing challenged, nothing gained. So we're looking forward for him to be on our roster and show us what he can do.
You go with the outside linebacker Holmes a little bit later in that second round. We talked about it during the draft. You need to get to the quarterback. Where do you see Holmes fitting in your pass rushing rotation? Is he a starter from day one? Is he situational? What are you thinking with him?
Well, don't just give positions away. Everybody has to compete for it. So we're hoping this young man bring a good attitude. He seems to have all the good attributes to succeed, and we're really looking forward to him in training camp.
It came up a couple times while you were on the clock. Chris Johnson's gone. Andre Ellington's still there. Do you guys possibly look in a later round to add another halfback, or are you pretty confident in what Andre Ellington can provide for you guys there in Arizona?
Well, not only do we have Andre Ellington, we have young man Johnson. He's second year, and he showed some promise last season, and we're pretty solid at running back. We might add one for depth. We don't know if we'll draft one or pick one up later in free agency and preseason. But we're happy with what we got at running back right now.
Well, we wish you luck going forward in your draft, player. Thanks for stopping by here on MBL Live.
I have one question for you, player.
Yeah, I'm listening.
If you're still on. Okay, player. I just want you to tell the MBL, what can we expect from John Brown? I've heard the sky's the limit for the guy. Just on a leaving note, can you tell us what the Arizona Cardinals expect in the future from wide receiver John Brown and his potential?
Well, we're expecting big things from Mr. Brown, and you just have to wait and see. We're about to develop this man into a very, very dangerous weapon, and we're looking forward to it.
All right, great. Thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate having you on here.
Thanks for inviting me.
That was player from the owner of the Arizona Cardinals. Pretty interesting stuff, huh, Sonny?
Yeah, you know, I can't argue with him. You know, if your draft board says go quarterback, you know, the age-old adage, you take what your draft board tells you to do. I know, you know, Cincinnati Bengals went back-to-back left tackle last year, taking Jake Fisher and Cedric Ogbuehi, and back-to-back first, second round. So I can't argue with it. I just thought maybe we would see a different direction there. That, you know, only time will tell how that goes. I liked the outside linebacker. I think that's going to pay off for him in the future, and we'll see how that goes. I believe we're trying to get the Oakland Raiders on the line here to discuss their picks from the first two rounds. Do we have you on the phone there, Project Fat of the Oakland Raiders?
Yes, I'm here. How we doing, guys?
We're doing good. We're doing good. So, instant reaction, your first couple rounds, how you feeling about your draft?
I'm feeling pretty good. You know, it was like we kind of talked about. We were a little surprised by the run of cornerbacks that did go, and we might have gone away from our draft board a little bit. But I think we're really happy with the guys we brought on, and we think that they can definitely make an impact.
Yeah, the tight end play in the first round made a lot of sense there. You go cornerback there at the end of the second round. We've talked about it a little bit. You know, Woodson's gone. Who's going to lead that secondary going forward for you guys in Oakland?
You know, and that's definitely a question that a lot of people have asked. And I mean, it's very valid. You know, you can't replace. You will never replace Charles Woodson. Let's be honest. But I think we did go after, and we were able to bring Patrick Chung on board with us. And I think that he can definitely be a leader in that secondary for us. So we didn't, you know, coming in before we did make that signing, he might have been a position we looked at. But with him coming on, I think that he can really lead that secondary and be that, you know, leader. He's a great representative of that secondary now with Charles Woodson being gone. So I think that he's the guy that we can really look to make some things happen for us.
You go halfback in the second round. You got Latavius Murray. Kind of confusing to hear for us and our guys as we're watching the draft. Thought there were a couple other needs there, maybe on the offensive line. Is that a sign that maybe your faith isn't in Murray? Is that a halfback by committee? What's going on there with the halfback situation in Oakland?
I can definitely say that halfback by committee is something that we're going to look at. Nothing that Murray did wrong, but he did have a little bit of an injury problem last season, and I don't feel like he was great catching the ball out of the backfield, kind of as a supplement to him. But we need somebody that can can be kind of a change of pace and be that guy for us. If Murray, we don't know. Murray's young; he still has a lot of opportunity, but he just seemed like to make a lot of sense to us. And although that wasn't maybe necessarily our biggest need at that time, we couldn't look past some of the numbers that he's put up.
One last question, not necessarily draft related. You've got Alden Smith, you got Khalil Mack, but in free agency you go out and get Tamba Ali. What are the plans for Tamba? He's a 3-4 outside linebacker. Oakland historically runs that 4-3 defense. So what are you going to do with the extra pass rusher there in Oakland?
We're going to do that exactly. We're going to rush the passer. We did okay last season, but we feel like we don't necessarily we didn't get where we wanted to be. We think that maybe we switch to some 3-4s, we mix in the 4-3 here and there, but with Hawley there, that's somebody else that the offensive line has to worry about. Whether he does rush the passer every single play or not, it doesn't matter. They're going to think about him, and we were really, really excited to bring him on. And I know we were tired of playing against him every single year in Kansas City, so it's nice to have him on our side now. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to look to really get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, whether we mix it up with the 3-4 or put some 4-3 in there. Whatever we feel like we can do, we have a lot of versatility now.
Yeah, so I get that. That makes a lot of sense. It was just something that was an interesting twist. I know Alden Smith played outside linebacker in that San Francisco 3-4, so very curious when we saw that happen. Wishing you a lot of luck going forward. You guys are got to raise that division out there in the West. Need some work. I think the Oakland Raiders are on the right path here, so I wish you all the luck in the draft going forward. And I hope to have you on the Fourverse possibly here in the future to tell us more about your draft. So thanks for coming on with us today.
Yeah, of course. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
It was interesting stuff.
Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff there with Oakland. We talked a little bit about it with the pick of the halfback. Murray being injured does make sense there. Durability questions with the running back. They're kind of a flash in the pan. First they're there, then they're not. It's something that we'll have to watch. But anytime you can get some carries off the guy, you make his legs last a little longer, and that can only spell good things there.
Definitely.
For the Oakland Raiders.
And bringing in Tamba Ali, it might be a locker room thing. You're losing Charles Woodson, big locker room leader, loved in the community. They're bringing in a lot of veterans that have the ability to still play at a high level and also be that veteran leadership that those young guys need. When you sign Alden Smith to a long-term deal, you really need to surround him with positive influences and people that can really help him take his game even further and possibly to the next level as his career progresses.
I totally agree with you. I think it will only help. It gives Alden Smith somebody to look up to, somebody to learn from, a guy that's been in the league a long time. Great role model for him. I want to get the New York Jets owner Delvar on the phone here. Little confused by their pick there in the second round. They went defensive tackle. So, Delvar, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So, second round, you're on the clock. We're all thinking maybe middle linebacker, maybe outside linebacker, and you surprise everybody and you go defensive tackle. Take us through your thinking as you approach that pick and explain to us why that was the pick the New York Jets made.
Well, as you all know, we lost Harrison to free agency, so we were just trying to fill a spot. I mean, we have a couple of good defensive tackles on the team as well, but we wanted to inject some youth there, so we picked up a DT instead of a middle linebacker.
So you go defensive tackle instead of middle linebacker. Are there plans? Do you have any idea how long Harris is still going to play there? Linebacker is a position where they do tend to stick around a little longer than other places, but is that something you plan to address in the draft, maybe free agency next year, or do you think Harris has got a couple more years left in him?
We still think Harrison has a couple of more years in him, but the draft is still going on. We'll look at what's out there as well as in free agency, but I believe he can go another couple of years.
your center, Rivera, from the first round. I love that pick. I think that's going to only help Chris Ivory. So tell me, is he going to come in just right off the bat and start, or is that something you're going to work him into? Rookie centers tend to have issues in the league. They got to make the line calls. Is that something that he's going to be able to handle from day one, or is that something that he may not take over till towards the back end of the year?
Well, actually, we were looking at him, and we might move him to left tackle, right tackle, because as you know, we have a pretty good center with us right now. So, and he has another couple of years to play.
All right, so Bomber, I think you had something for him here.
Hey, Delvar, this is Bomber, owner of Detroit Lions, Season 9 MBL champion, if you didn't know, MBL Hall of Famer, if you didn't know. Delvar, basically I want to ask you, a lot of the media personalities in MBL, you've seen the tweets. They're worried about Revis. They're worried about his age. They're worried about Cromartie. They're worried about his age. They're worried about your cornerbacks. You said you are not worried about any of that, that your young cornerbacks are about to step up, next man up mentality. Can you elaborate on that, how you really feel about your cornerback core that you got going on in New York?
Sure. Yes, they are still great corners, but they are aging. And we have a few young cornerbacks behind them, and D. Milner, and ouch.
And Screen?
Yeah, thank you. And Screen, I was really interrupted. And, you know, we feel that they can step up and fill this void when these guys decide they're done with football or move on to other teams.
All right, man. Thanks for joining us on this on the last owner interview, on the first live draft, MBL Live. I also have one more question. What's the Jets' record next season? What's your predictions?
16-0.
16-0. So you're trying to be a Lion. All right, that's all the time we have today. Sonny, you want to go ahead and close us out here?
Yeah, you know, rapid reaction here. Draft's still going on. A lot of good things happening. MBL, a lot of good things happening. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We'll have some more recap. 4 verts will come out here in the next week, recapping all the free agency and draft happenings. You know, I'd like to thank Lip and Bomber for joining me on the show tonight. I'd like to thank all of you guys for tuning in. If you've got any questions or if you've got any comments, make sure to check us out. 365.bomber, MaddenBomberLeague.com.
And on Twitter. And on Twitter, at Bomber League.
Yep, at Bomber League. We love to hear back from you guys. People are listening, not from our league. We love to get feedback from you guys. So make sure you reach out, give us a shout out. You know, we're looking forward to MBL Live this year. We will be broadcasting 5 to 6 games throughout the year, including the Super Bowl championship. So make sure you subscribe to us, tune in, listen to that. So from all of us here at MBL Live and Madden Bomber League, thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.